We're doing a study called Good to Great, and we're looking at things that cause good companies to accelerate and become great companies. Technology accelerators. It's amazing what these people discovered in the secular world of New York City is the same biblical principles we find that were discovered many years ago. For instance, I would like to use as a scripture text for this particular lesson, Ecclesiastes 1:9. Here's what the wise man said. That which has been is what will be. That which is done is what will be done. And there is nothing new under the sun. Now, I know there are people that would disagree with that and say, he was just, an old foggy man that was complaining about the monotony of life. No, I think he had discovered a principle. He's not talking about technology here. There's always going to be new trinkets and new things and new ways of doing things. He's talking about the principles of life, of human nature. There's some things that are the same, and one of them is human nature never changes. It just continues to recycle itself again and again and again. And that's what he's discussing here. He's talking about the human nature, the principles of life. See, there will always be new technology, but technology by itself will not make our church grow. Now, I wish a lot of young pastors would listen to what I'm saying here, because I have a lot of experience, and I'd hate to think I hadn't learned something from all of these scars. The companies that went from good companies to great companies, here was their philosophy when it came to technology. When it comes to technology, they said, we must first crawl, then walk, and finally run. Their philosophy about technology was, we will first crawl, and then we will walk, and finally we will run. I think they've discovered what Solomon was talking about. There is nothing new that's under the sun. See, when technology is used correctly, it becomes an accelerator of the momentum, but never the creator of the momentum. Now, that's important for us to understand. Just getting technology is not going to turn your church into a great church. No. If you don't have great people, you still got problems. If you don't have disciplined thoughts, it's just not going to happen, my friend. It comes back to you have to get the basics first, lay the foundation. Then the technology becomes a wonderful accelerator for the momentum that you have already started. You first crawl, then walk, and finally run. Technology is not God. It never has been. It never will be. And there is no substitute in your life for you going back to your Creator, the one that made you, the one that gifted you, and discovering what is it that God has called me to do. And when you focus on the one thing that God called you to do, then you can begin to experience great things in your life. So never try to substitute technology for God. Technology without a clear, this one thing I do concept can never make great churches. Never will do that, friend. It doesn't make great companies. It doesn't make anything great. All it does is put on a show for someone for a little while, and then they will go chasing after another show. So it takes more than this. See, this problem of mediocrity, it's a management problem, not a technological problem. We're dealing with human nature here. And unless we are able to find disciplined people with disciplined thoughts, we're never going to accomplish anything that's great. And so what we do, we use technology to enhance the work, but you can't use it to turn your people into great people. No technology can build the principles of discipline. It can't do that. No, that is not the purpose of technology. Technology is to assist you and to help you in what you are disciplined to do. But technology can never discipline you. That's not the purpose of technology. Another thing I see, technology cannot give you unwavering confidence. Where does confidence come from? Confidence comes from either a person that is overconfident, they think they can do what they can't do, and they're foolish, or it comes from a person that they know who they are, what they're gifted to do. In other words, their confidence comes from God. People that know God, that know the call of God upon their life, know the will of God, they discipline themselves to fulfilling God's call, and it gives them faith. Here we're using the word confidence, but it's the same precept, the same concept we're talking about here. So turning into great it's a human problem, not a technological problem. It is a human problem. And unless we're able to get the right people in the right seats on the bus, we're not going to accomplish great things. So technology be an accelerator in our life. Let's talk about what they discovered and what they called a flywheel effect. Now, what they're talking about, the flywheel it's that large wheel that, for instance, they use it in pottery a lot, and you'll see the craftsmen get it moving and going. The momentum is built because of the force that was against it, but then the weight of the wheel continues the momentum. That's what they mean by a flywheel effect. Here's what they discovered, that when you have the discipline to come up with this one thing I do concept, you break through into the disciplined thought life. This is what we are supposed to be doing. This is where we are focusing our energy, our efforts. This one thing I do. What that does, it begins to produce visible results. People begin to see the difference in our life. People begin to be attracted to that because they see something is happening here. Something is taking place. The third thing it does, it energizes the people. They suddenly have a passion for what's going on. They get excited, emotional about it. And the truth of it is, we're never going to accomplish greatness without passion, without the fire that burns within us, that causes us to want to excel. It then builds what we call momentum. Momentum. Someone's called it the big mo. And they say the big mo, it makes every leader look better than he really is. Or if you don't have momentum, it makes every leader look worse than he really is. So momentum comes as you do these things step by step, and as you repeat this over and over and over again, it momentum within our lives. I am so grateful. I am so thankful. I am humbled by the fact that at 70 years of age, I am still extremely active in ministry. Now, that is God's goodness in many ways, but one of the things that testifies is the momentum. The momentum. I still want me to come and teach. They still want me to come and speak. I'm honored by that. But that is a part of the momentum that has been built year after year after year. Now, this is what we have to do within our lives. When we find this one thing I do and we begin to accomplish some good things with that, it will produce the passion, the energy, the fire within us to be able to accomplish great things. And the momentum is, it just keeps carrying us over to the next year. It keeps us going long after we would have quit. We would have become discouraged and despondent if we had not been doing the right thing. Now, this flywheel is the flywheel of momentum within our life. It takes a lot of energy to get it going in the beginning. Why? Because there's more energy to get it going than it does to keep it going. The same is true with The same is true with our churches. Once we get the right people in the right place and they have the right training and you release them to do their work, it builds a momentum. And the momentum then continues to carry you over into greatness. The lack of momentum, it's a leader's worst enemy. Good momentum is a. We need to build that within our lives. The doom loop. The doom loop is the opposite of what we've been talking about. The doom loop, it basically begins with reaction without understanding. Now, here's what they mean by that. In other words, you see somebody else is doing something and they're being successful at that, so you want to jump on the bandwagon and ride with them. The problem is you don't have the same gifts. You don't have the same call. You don't even understand why that is working in their life. Now, I've seen this so many times in so many pastors, having in so many hundreds of conferences. I've seen that the young come in and they look around, they see something is happening, and they say, "Oh, I got to do that, man! Music ministry. We've got to start that church." The problem is they don't have any musicians or singers, and yet they're going to start it. Or they see, "Oh, they got a great education program here. That's what we're going to do. We're going to start a school." The problem is they don't have anyone trained as educators in their church. In other words, it's action without understanding. They don't know why this is working. They're simply jumping on the bandwagon. Or the second thing, call it, becomes a new fad. Oh my, I've been in Christian ministry for so many years. I've seen so many fads come and go. And that's one thing I can tell you. When fads come, they will go. You're working with a false concept. You don't understand why it worked. You don't have the gifts to make it work. It produces no new momentum. In other words, there's nothing there to keep you going once you got started. And once you used up all your energy, you're out of gas, friend. The whole thing stops because there is no new momentum in your life. The end result is disappointed people. Disappointed people. And haven't we seen that so many times? So what the doom loop is the opposite of the flywheel effect. False promises, old projects, they lead to disappointment. As I said before, and the worst things that a leader can do is hold out false promises. Don't do that, friend. You hold out false promises, all you're going to do is discourage your people, the very people that you're going to need one day to encourage you. And you are discouraging them because they recognize you don't know where you are going. One of the things I must say, and I hate to say it, but it is the truth. There are too many churches full of disappointed people. There we go again. Another failure. Another disappointment. And what it does, it discourages the people to the point where they don't believe for anything. Evelyn and I were in the church recently speaking, and after the service that day, we were leaving, and I told her, "Oh my, they wore me out today." It didn't matter what I said, it didn't say. They weren't going to respond at all. Why? Disappointed people. Discouraged people. I really believe it's one of the worst things that a leader can do. Don't make promises you're not going to keep. Start helping them build little wins that get to be bigger wins, that get to be great wins. Start building that momentum within them, because if you don't, the discouraged people, I have seen over and over again. That's not God's will. It's not God's will for our life. It's not God's will for our family, for our community, for our church. No. Church ought to be full of life, expectation. People should be full of faith, coming expecting God to do something wonderful. But there are too many people that live by the old adage, blessed is he that expecteth nothing, for he shall not be disappointed. And that's the way too many people are. Sad, discouraged people. God has called us to be believers, not doubters, believers. And the things that a spiritual leader can do for the people is confidence, faith, help them to understand is great, and you can accomplish great things if you will simply follow him. It comes by disciplined life. Disciplined people with disciplined thoughts doing disciplined things. That's how you produce greatness. Great churches are not built overnight. No, but as you dedicate yourself to the thing that God called you to do, gifted you to do, you start building the momentum that will continue to carry you. When you're not able to carry yourself, I look at the apostle, great man. What a great man. He ran when he could. When he was young, he was doing everything he could, starting churches, planting. But when he got old, in fact, that was the term that he used, Paul the aged. He's talking about himself. His body is now worn out, and he's in a prison cell. He has the most effective ministry of his entire life. Roman prison cell and turn it into an international missions agency. That's greatness. He did it because he had built the momentum. This one thing I do. The one thing was planting these churches, raising up young leaders, so that now that he's in prison, he may be in prison, but his pen is not in prison. And so he writes letter after letter after letter. In fact, we even call them the prison epistles that he writes to the church and teaching from the message of the precious great man of God. Now that's what I'm talking about. That you build that momentum that continues to carry you over to the place you can't carry yourself. Paul could no longer go to the churches, but through his preacher boys and through his letters, greatness comes from consistently doing the right things in the right way. I think the great football coach, Vince Lombardi, they tell about him when the Green Bay Packers, and they were considered the team, the worst team in the National League. And he goes in the first game, they lost the game, of course. The end of the game, he calls them all together in the room, and he walks in, pulls up a football, and he says, "Gentlemen, this is a football." And he began to teach them basic principles concerning how you play the game of football. Now, I think this is where we miss it. Just add some lights if I can get the right sound, if I can do... No. Technology will never create the momentum. It can only accelerate the momentum that's there. If you get people, you give them the right seats on the bus, they're going to accomplish some great things with their life. Now, is called us to. Is to greatness. Things that you're passionate about. Focus on that. What is the fire that burns in your life? If you what is one thing? Then why are you doing everything else? Things that you're passionate about. See, the truth of it is, good is the enemy of great. We think bad. No, I'm not interested in bad at all. I'm not even interested in good. I want to see what kind of great things I can accomplish in my life. That should be the motto. That is our mantra. That's the way that we think, turning good things into great things. Don't do less than your best for God. You only have one life, my friend. Live it up for Jesus. The reason we have precious little of great is because people are not willing to discipline themselves to it. They're willing to settle for something less. Now, I caution you here, do not get into competition with each other. That's not even fair. It's sure not wise, because we are all uniquely made. But be in competition with yourself to be your very best, to do your very best. That's how gold medals are won. Those that are the finalists, they have gone for the gold. They're not willing to settle for second best. And so I challenge you, if it is not your best, you don't need to be doing it. Now, I had a friend not too long ago was asking me, how long are you intending to continue doing this? And I said, as long as I can be effective, as people's lives, as long as I can change them. And he said, but I don't think God work until you drop over dead. I said, you don't understand, friend. You don't understand. This is what keeps me alive. This is not what kills me. This is fun. This is what I am created to do. I was born to do that. This one thing I do. And we're focused on fulfilling that goal. That's when we'll begin to accomplish some great things with our life, and God will be glorified through us. I pray that God bless your journey and that you learn how to turn the good things God has given you into